145 case number 10.
And it has tone to it. It's Mengqi. Mengqi.
She came here first as an exchange student and it started out as a great love.
She was having an online relationship with a gentleman in China.
I'll enter as a missing person until we hear otherwise from her, or can prove that she went somewhere.
Joe was verbally abusive and that it was escalating over time.
You want me to hurt somebody?
We thought that maybe she was in a suitcase, had been weighted down or something like that.
Investigators believe skeletal remains found in a state park are those of a missing Colombia woman, Mengqi Ji.
Did you suffocate her?
No.
Did you strangle her, causing her to urinate on the bed?
No.
You killed her on that bed.
No.
Your wife is in a bar. You said she's unresponsive.
This is what he's going to tell you.
How to get out of that situation.
And I grabbed the gun.
Trying to find the first place to put a body.
No, sir.
The only thing they could do was kill him.
You want to say anything?
We, the jury, and to find the defendant.
Joint dispatch, how may I help you?
Hi, I need to file a missing persons report.
Okay, I can help you with that. What's your name?
Joe, Elledge.
Okay. And tell me exactly what happened.
Yesterday morning, I woke up and my wife was gone. She left her wedding ring and her phone, her car.
How old is the person?
She is 28. She's Asian, Chinese.
What's her name?
Mengqi Ji, Elledge.
She came here first as an exchange student in 2012.
They worked at the same place. She was a few years older. He was a graduate student.
It started out as a great love. I think both of them were interested in the other's culture.
Obviously, there was different cultures, but he wanted to learn the culture. He went to China, met her parents.
Hey, Joe.
Hi.
Hey, it's Officer Joseph.
Officer Joseph?
I was just going to come over here and get some details from him.
When police first responded to the missing persons report, Joe Elledge pointed the officer to Mengqi's computer and iPad and a message he discovered from a man in China.
I think this is her secret love or something. Probably
Back in China?
I suppose. I think he was...
And an online journal his wife left behind.
That journal article talks about this guy, she's like in love with him or something, and that she's not interested in her husband, but that she's married and she has a baby, so she has to stop like doing this.
Messaging him.
There, I think, yeah.
She was having at least an online relationship with a gentleman in China. Some pictures being exchanged and her talking in a way that she didn't talk with him, things of that nature. I mean, just hurtful things to read it as a husband.
I think there's been about 4 times where she's gone out, and she's been out for like an unreasonably long time. Yeah, pretty much.
Mengqi's purse was missing, but left behind was her phone, her passport, her car keys, and the couple's 1-year-old daughter, Anna, the family photo album showing her devotion to the little girl.
Anna was the light of Mengqi's life. I don't think there was anything that Mengqi was more excited about than bringing this child into the world. Mengqi was breastfeeding her baby at the time that she went missing. No mother leaves their baby while they're breastfeeding and just disappears.
145 case number 10707, repeating 10707.
So I'll enter as a missing person until we hear otherwise from her, or can prove that she went somewhere. Obviously, the best thing for her to do to be to call and say, hey, this is where I'm at, for everybody, so everybody knows.
Yeah.
And you guys can try to work out whatever that you need to do.
Yeah.
But as far as like issues between you and her, is it just, I mean, anything? She just kind of nitpick? Is that kind of the deal, or anything?
Yeah, there was no like big, large arguments recently.
Just disagreements about small things.
Yeah.
A search began for Mengqi across the university campus and all around Colombia as police asked the public's help in finding her, and her parents headed to Missouri from China.
Kay Ren, Mengqi's mother, spoke to her daughter every single day. She knew immediately when they didn't have that phone call that something was not right. And when they went to the apartment, they were not allowed in. Neither Joe nor his mother would let them in. They didn't welcome them. They didn't say, "We don't know where Mengqi is." They were very cagey.
Talk to me about Mengqi. Is that Mengqi? That's how you pronounce her name.
It's actually Mengqi, and it has tone to it. It's Mengqi.
His story publicly was that she was missing, that she had become involved with another man, and that he thought that she had possibly disappeared with that other man.
What do you think about the fact that she left behind her wallet and everything? Not her wallet, her passport and her phone.
So that stuff is very weird to me. I know she was talking to somebody else on the side, and I didn't know that until after she had left. But whatever she's doing, I just hope she's safe, and I really hope that she can, find herself and come back to me and Anna, and we can just have a big long talk, and that's all we need. But we can work things out. I think she's just confused and maybe scared, and I don't know if she felt alone, but I just really want her to come back. And it does worry me that she doesn't have any of that stuff. I just hope that she's safe. I hope that she's at least with somebody who cares for her, enough to keep her safe. And
he was hurt, that he was a little bit awkward, especially when dealing with the news media. He had some weird smiles.
I have absolutely no idea where she might be. It's just all so strange. She just disappeared. I don't know. I just really don't know. She hasn't contacted anybody. She talked to her mom, I think, probably 2 or 3 times every single day, and the fact that she hasn't heard from her really worries me. It's very surprising. It's just hard to think about what's going on.
In the majority of those cases, people will turn up and find them. But then it was detectives who brought this to my attention, that this was likely much more than a missing persons case.
What's going on at the moment? You're going to say we have a seat right there. Be back with you just right there. Okay. Be back with you in just a moment, okay?
Yes. 5 days after he first reported his wife missing, police decided to bring Joe Elledge downtown for questioning.
How old are you?
23 years old.
To see if they could either corroborate or challenge his story.
Do you have your cell phone on you here?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And do you mind if we take that and we do a download of it?
That's fine.
It's
Yeah.
fine. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll do that real quick. Yeah.
He gave consent to the police to download the contents of his telephone. You could tell that he was racked with nerves.
Columbia is a mid-sized college town. It's home to University of Missouri, Columbia.
A lot of students from China, somewhere around 3,000 people of Chinese descent.
A lot of people in the Chinese community had gathered around, and they were actively searching for Mengqi as a missing person.
And that night, it was just shocking, but I was thinking that anything was possible. Like, why would she leave home? Did she have some unhappy moments? Or just to get away?
Her parents thanked the searchers, but they were growing increasingly frustrated.
Their daughter's missing, and they can't see their granddaughter, and they don't know what's going on, and they're not getting the answers that they're wanting from the police.
But the police were very much on the case.
We're going to go ahead and get started so we can try and get you out of here. We're just going to go over everything all over again, okay?
As detectives increasingly thought something was just not right about Joe Elledge's account of Mengqi's last night at home.
She kind of told me, I don't know, during that time she had told me that she has to get up early in the morning to go somewhere, and I asked her where she's going, who she's meeting, and I asked her about 3 times who is she meeting, and her answer was just, quote, me. So she wouldn't tell me who she was meeting or where she was going, what she was doing. And then later in the night, about 5 a.m., is when I woke up to Anna crying, and she was crying really loud, and so I really sat up in bed. And then I normally put my hand over to where Mengqi is, but I put my hand over there, and she wasn't there. And I looked over, and I didn't see her, and I looked around the room, and I didn't see her. So I went out of the room, and I searched the rest of the apartment for Mengqi, and I just didn't see her anywhere. I noticed that her keys were here. I noticed that her phone and her ring were next to the bed, and it was early, and I was really tired, so I just went back to sleep.
Later that day, Elledge told police he left his apartment complex to take a drive around the area with his daughter, Anna.
He admitted that he'd been driving all over the place the day after she, quote-unquote, disappeared, which is highly suspicious.
It was a really nice day. I cracked the windows, and I noticed Anna was watching outside the whole time. She was very silent and just watching outside, and so I thought that was kind of nice.
It was almost word-for-word rendition of what we found later on in the apartment, the statement that he made to the police. So he had scripted it all out.
I got to relax, and at the same time...
Wait a minute. You got to relax. Your wife is missing. You're now the sole caregiver of a 1-year-old child, and you went on a relaxing drive? I gotta tell you, that strikes me as strange, and I don't think I'm alone in that. I think Alan here would probably agree with that. I think 99 out of 100 people on the street would say, that's not the time to relax. I mean, you haven't even told anybody, I don't know where my wife is.
Yeah.
I'm asking you to look at this from my standpoint, right?
Yeah.
Because I have a job to do. My job is to find Mengqi, right?
I understand. Yep.
For good or for bad, it's to find her.
That's right.
If she left on her own and she wants to stay gone, that's her right. But boy, if she didn't, we got a whole different situation, doesn't we?
Yeah.
If somebody did something to her, or if she accidentally did something to herself,
yeah,
we absolutely cannot stop until we find her. You understand that, right?
Yep. Yep. I want to help you guys as much as I can.
And I will not apologize for doing my job and asking difficult questions. You understand that too, right?
Yep.
Did you kill your wife?
No, I did not.
Do you know what happened to her?
No, I do not.
We had on-the-ball detectives, and a very good question that was asked by Detective John Voss was...
Did you lock your door when you left the apartment?
Yeah.
If she comes home, how's she going to get back in? You've got her keys in her car, her phone's in the house. She can't even call anybody.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, did you leave her a note? You didn't leave her a note, right? You said, hey, don't worry about Anna and me because we're out for a drive. Didn't do that, right?
I didn't.
Why not?
I didn't think about it.
You knew she wasn't coming back, right?
I didn't know. Honestly, I just thought that she had left on her own accord, and I didn't know where she might be.
And the detectives continued to push Elledge on his route of travel the day Mengqi disappeared.
You go driving all over the countryside to... The places you go are interesting to me because they are places where there are the Missouri River, and you go driving around through the wilderness to include after dark. But you say that you're wanting to relax. But when I hear that, I hear that somebody has a lot of anxiety about something that's just happened. A lot of it. That you cannot sit there in your apartment for another minute because you're going out of your mind. That's what it looks like to me. Does that make sense to you? Am I crazy?
No.
Okay.
But
so how do we explain that, Joe? I mean,
Mengqi and I have been really distant the past couple months. I really didn't think a lot about it, that she left like that. She's been acting weird recently, and she wouldn't tell me where she's been. I am really confused about all this. So I didn't know what to think. I just wanted to go for a drive.
And that was it. His story did not change, and the detectives had no choice but to let him go, no evidence to charge him with a crime, but convinced he was not telling them the whole story.
He was the prime suspect. He didn't confess, but he admitted a number of different things in line with the script that he had prepared. Eventually, the police were able to obtain cell phone information from his cell phone that tracked his whereabouts and where he went on those 2 drives. Everything matched up with the exception of one critical thing.
His phone had put him at an area near the Lamine River, a location he had left out of his detailed account in the interview with detectives.
So, based on that information, law enforcement believed that Mengqi's body could have been dumped in the Lamine River. That was a big focus of this investigation.
And then Mengqi's parents were able to add another critical piece of information.
They initially did not want to believe that it could be Joe. They did not want to believe that about their son-in-law. And so the police, upon further questioning of Mengqi's parents, started asking them about the relationship between Joe and Mengqi and Anna. There were pictures, and Mengqi had shared them with her mother of the physical abuse of Anna.
It was discovered that there was bruising to his daughter's buttocks, and so he was questioned about that.
It was more than enough for prosecutors to send police to arrest Joe Elledge on charges of child abuse.
And on October 25th, when they showed up to arrest Joe, the car was packed. His mother was there. They were leaving town.
I'm Assistant Chief Jeremiah Hunter with the Columbia Police Department. This video is a brief update.
Columbia, Missouri police spent some 5 months searching for the body of Mengqi, focused on a remote area near this overpass along the Lamine River.
Working with a human remains detection canine, positive indicators were identified that human decomposition was present.
The police did a huge recovery efforts out there. We were so hopeful that she could be found. It was like a roller coaster.
And it seemed highly likely that there was going to be a body. There were cell phone records that seemed to indicate that Joe was there.
They even brought in heavy equipment to build a levee to lower the water level of the river.
We had divers all over the place, diving in November and December, very cold. Thought that maybe she was in a suitcase, had been weighted down or something like that.
Mr. Knight kept calling me saying, I think we're going to have a body, I think we're going to have a body. Prepare your clients. Make sure they know that we think we're going to have a body.
At the same time, detectives were doing their own deep dive into any problems in the relationship between Joe and Mengqi.
They were living in a very small apartment. There were times that things were good, there were times that things were bad. You know, there were a lot of name calling and putting her down, and things started to evolve to where he didn't appreciate her culture any longer.
They were able to obtain her phone, her iPad, and her computer, but it wasn't until her password was discovered and the code was broken that they were able to actually gain access to her phone.
With hours of recordings Mengqi had secretly made of Joe berating her.
I don't like being married to you. I don't like living with you.
And hours more of recordings found on the phone that Joe had turned over to the police.
I want to divorce you, okay? I want that to happen during this semester. I want it to happen soon. Sooner better, okay?
Those recordings tell me that Joe was verbally abusive and that it was escalating over time.
You find all those stories about men and or women, their spouse killed them, whatever, because you weren't trying to live peacefully with me. You want me to hurt somebody?
There's one recording where he threatens to put Mengqi under the dirt.
You know what? Next time you dig a hole, I'm just gonna let you jump in, and I'm gonna bury the dirt over you.
In one recording, Joe told his mother about the rage he felt about Mengqi.
Do I just smack her? Do I just beat her down?
You wanted to.
I have that craving. I'll admit that, yes.
You can't.
I'm not going to, though.
Go there.
He threatens to have her deported. He threatens to take custody of their only child. He tells Mengqi she can just leave.
You'll probably get deported. Anna's mine. So I don't know. Are you gonna play nice? Are you gonna try and play good? Obviously, I'm not gonna represent you to stay in America anymore. But Anna's not leaving America. I can't tell you that.
Anyone who sat down and listens to the 14 hours of recorded conversations they had between the two, it was completely one-sided, severely, emotionally abusing Mengqi, gaslighting her, insulting her nonstop. All that information was very powerful. Very, very powerful evidence in this case.
But there was still no body, despite the extensive search along the Lamine River.
I felt so bad for them that we weren't able to locate Mengqi.
I actually went with Mengqi's mother and had a memorial service. She wanted closure, but she, not having a body, there's no way to say goodbye. They put Mengqi's mother in the boat, took her to the exact spot where they thought maybe the body was, and she laid out her belongings and the things that she wanted Mengqi to have.
It wasn't until February of 2020 that I decided to go ahead and file murder charges without having her body. It would have been challenging for sure to do that because not only did we not have her remains, we didn't have anybody who saw her killed, we didn't have DNA evidence, we didn't have a confession.
There was no blood found in Elledge's car, nor in the apartment, where detectives took his clothing and a pair of mud-caked boots for further examination.
And so there were a lot of obstacles, but I thought, even though this is a circumstantial evidence case, I thought that this was a case that we could prove beyond a reasonable doubt.
Now, Joe Elledge faced first-degree murder, along with the child abuse charges. But the trials were both delayed for more than a year as the COVID-19 pandemic swept the country.
So then the investigation just took a completely different direction from there.
Just 3 months before the trial was scheduled to start, a hiker in the Rockbridge State Park, miles away from the original search site, was following a deer trail.
And he looked over and he saw some kind of a purse, and he went over just to investigate because I'd be out of the ordinary, and then he saw a skull there.
Investigators believe skeletal remains found in a state park are those of a missing Colombia woman. Mengqi Ji was reported missing in October 2019 by her husband, Joseph Elledge.
It was a huge day for this case. It was just a breakthrough in the investigation. I knew that she had been killed, and I thought that this was going to bring us closer to securing justice.
And now the theory of what happened to Mengqi's body came into focus.
He drove all over the place in his car looking for a place to dispose of her body. She was in the trunk of the vehicle. He didn't have much time, but it was raining, and it was raining very hard that morning when he tried to bury her.
And that's when detectives remembered the boots they had seized at Elledge's apartment.
These boots were always suspicious because there was soil embedded in the soles. And the soil that was embedded in the soles was compared to soil from the gravesite. And that was determined to be a match. So we went from a case having hardly any forensic evidence to having this extremely powerful, yet rarely used type of physical evidence connecting him irrefutably to the crime.
So now that there was a body and evidence that Elledge had been at the burial site, his lawyer, Scott Rosenblum, concluded he could not win the case without putting his client on the stand.
He was going to own what he had to own.
The trial of the murder of the Chinese exchange student received coverage around the world.
密苏里州华人女子姬梦
是1991年出生，曾经就读于华东。各位观众，大家好，欢迎收看邓红说。
大家早上好。
This case had some really bad optics. The fact that Mr. Elledge told a lot of lies, and the fact that he, had his wife in his trunk for 2 days, driving around looking for a place to bury her. That was not a good fact for me, especially when your daughter's in the car with you.
The evidence in this case is going to be that Mengqi was a great mother. She loved Anna with everything she had. After she gave birth to Anna, the defendant, you're going to hear multiple recordings where the defendant would threaten her and abuse her, call her names, things like this. And this went on for about a year, all the way up until the time the defendant killed Mengqi on October 8th of 2019 when Anna was 1 year old.
And the jury was told they would see and hear other tapes of Joe Elledge too. His TV interview with the big smile, and the police interrogation video with Elledge's repeated denials.
Did you kill your wife?
No, I did not.
And there would be damning forensic evidence from the place where Mengqi's body was found.
Testing was later done on the soil and the vegetation from the defendant's boots compared to the soil and vegetation at the exact spot where Mengqi was buried, and they both matched, the soil and the vegetation. Find the defendant guilty of murder in the first degree, and only murder in the first degree. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you, State.
All eyes now were on Elledge's lawyer, Scott Rosenblum.
I definitely expected the defense to come up with something other than the story that Joe had originally told, which was that Mengqi had ran away, because we could now put Joe down at her grave with the help of these boots.
So yes, you will hear that he lied to the police because he said he wasn't aware of what happened. She walked away. He lied to his family. He's not proud of it. He lied to the press. And he's not proud of it. And he lied to Mengqi's family. And he's certainly not proud of that. And he's going to tell you. And he's going to tell you that he's not proud. And he's going to tell you what he was thinking. But he's not charged with any of that. That's not what you're here to decide. You're here to decide what happened to Mengqi and what's the state's proof. What happened on October 8th, 2019, between these two young people. And the evidence that you will hear is that it was an unattended event that caused an accident, that he had no intent, certainly not murder. That's not even close.
It was an accident. That is the defense of a Missouri man accused of killing his wife.
I thought it was unbelievable. I was stunned that would be their story in an opening argument. I was stunned.
The prosecution proceeded with its plan. The expert who compared the DNA of soil and trees at the gravesite to that found on Elledge's boots.
So they were a match.
An autopsy showed Mengqi died with 4 broken ribs, but the medical experts were less definitive about what that meant.
You ruled the manner of death in this case to be a homicide, correct?
I did.
And then also, you cannot say at all what the cause of death in this case was, correct?
I can't say for certain at all, no.
That was the biggest weakness of the state's case. There was 4 fractured ribs. That wasn't going to be the cause of death.
It set the stage for Joe Elledge to take the stand.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do.
Both sides knew it would all come down to whether the jury would believe Elledge's version of events, that it was an accident after a heated shoving match.
Yeah, she pushed me once or twice and before I pushed her back.
When you say you pushed her back, was it just a gentle push?
No, it was hard.
How hard? Tell the jury how hard you pushed her back.
It was very hard.
She did. You remember?
She ran into like the kitchen counter.
And when she hit the kitchen counter, did you know whether she was hurt?
She kind of like screamed about it.
Did she come back at you?
Yes, she did. Very quickly.
very quickly. So this is happening in, what, a blink of an eye?
Yes.
Were you choreographing it? Were you figuring out every move? Or was it just happening in the blink of an eye?
It was just happening.
And when she was hit on the counter and she came at you again, what was your reaction then?
I pushed her again.
Hard?
Hard.
What happened then?
Probably even harder. She fell down.
Her hit anything?
She fell. She fell in the kitchen, and her head hit with a big thud. I felt it.
But Elledge said Mengqi seemed okay, and they both went to bed.
I woke up. I checked my phone to see what time it was. It was 5 a.m. I reached over and touched Mengqi on the arm, and I said that I'll get Anna.
Did you get any response?
No.
Did you find any signs of life?
No.
Realize that she was dead?
Pretty much, yes.
I thought he was terrible. Just because he didn't show any emotion, I think it was fabricated. I think Joe cared about himself. Joe was in it to save himself.
The $1,000,000 question is, what is going on in your mind where you wouldn't call 911?
It looked so weird, so unusual. It looked bad. I was afraid, and my mind was like going a million miles per hour.
Were you in a state of panic?
Yes.
That you were scared?
Yeah. Scared
because of what? I mean, you said minutes ago that you didn't intentionally harm your wife.
It looked bad, though. I knew that people would suspect me.
And then his description of driving around the area with his wife's body in the trunk for 2 full days before finding a place to bury her.
How'd you lay her in the grave, Joe?
I bent down and put her on her side in the grave.
What were you feeling? That's your wife. Tell the jury. They want to know. They have to want to know what you were feeling.
I just felt empty.
Or did you, in any way, intentionally try to harm your wife?
No.
Try to kill her?
No.
And then Elledge's defense lawyer had one final question to deal with what he knew would be coming on cross-examination.
I've seen a lot of times prosecutors try to suggest, well, you just came up with this. And, I wanted to make sure that it was not the case. When did you tell what happened and to whom?
No, I told it to you and
lawyers.
That's right. After I hired you.
Are you telling the truth to this jury?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you all. Mr. Elledge, you were here yesterday. I'm going to swear you in again.
Prosecutor Dan Knight had a huge problem for his cross-examination. He could not challenge Joe Elledge's testimony that he had told his lawyer months earlier that what happened was an accident.
Timing was everything when it came to this story, because it looked like, well, he came clean before Mengqi was found rather than coming clean after she got caught. I was not able to question Joe about it because of attorney-client privilege. I was handcuffed when it came to that.
So Knight's goal was to show Elledge's story did not add up.
How hard did you push her? Demonstrate. Let's see it. Do it with your hands.
I don't know. I pushed her hard.
Demonstrate. Like that? That's the force. So then what happened after that?
Then she came back at me and she pushed me and I pushed her again.
Wait. She hit the island real hard. Right? And she going, ow, her voice up. Didn't she say anything like that?
I don't know.
So then she came back at you, right? That's what you're saying?
Yes.
And what happened then?
We pushed each other again.
Okay, now who pushed who first?
It was kind of like at the same time.
Oh, both mutual push like this? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
He claimed that at one point he and Mengqi pushed each other at the same time. That would have been impossible because Joe's arms were much longer than Mengqi's, and I pointed that out. So you both pushed each other at the same time, correct?
Yes.
Wouldn't it be a little bit hard because her arms are way shorter than yours, Joe? Correct? Isn't it? Pretty tough one.
I saw that she was coming, and I just pushed her back this time.
Joe.
Your Honor, I would object and let him finish his answer.
Sustain.
Joe claimed that he gave Mengqi a massage, and he said it was a long massage. He was on top of her back. She had 4 broken ribs. So I believe strongly that right there on that bed, Joe killed Mengqi. Did you hit her with a toolbox real hard, just come down straight on that back?
No.
Did you maybe stand up on top of her and jump on top of her back?
No.
Did you suffocate her?
No.
Did you strangle her or cause her to urinate on the bed?
No.
You admitted there was urine on that bed, correct?
Yes.
You killed her on that bed.
Objection, argumentative, Your Honor.
Overruled.
No.
Closing argument for the state.
Your Honor, may I please the court? Counsel? Ladies and gentlemen, the truth is on our side. The evidence in this case clearly, overwhelmingly, and unequivocally proves beyond any doubt whatsoever that this defendant, Joseph Elledge, is guilty of murder in the first degree and only murder in the first degree.
Under Missouri law, first-degree murder requires deliberation to kill.
Everywhere we look, there is evidence of the defendant's extreme hatred of Mengqi, proving deliberation. Hatred proves deliberation. This man is twice as big as our tiny little victim in this case. A craving to smack her and beat her down. Murder one all the way.
Closing argument for the defense.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court? Counsel, members of the jury.
There's no doubt he pushed her hard in that moment. But did he push her thinking at that moment, I want to hurt you? No. He pushed her to say, get off me, I'm going to see Anna. What was his intent at that time? Certainly not to kill her. His intent wasn't even to hurt her. His intent was to leave.
And then Elledge's defense lawyer, Scott Rosenblum, launched an unusual personal attack on the tactics of prosecutor Dan Knight.
And if you don't have the facts and you don't have the law, guess what you do? You scream and you yell and you shout and you stomp around the courtroom. And that's what you've seen. That's what you've seen all week. Joe Elledge took the witness stand and he was cross-examined for 8 hours. And what you saw was basically this prosecutor being a bully and making fun and being sarcastic.
I meant bully. If I said it, I meant it.
We don't convict people of murder by conjecture. We don't convict people of murder because a prosecutor tells you to. You follow the evidence, and the evidence isn't there.
The jury was out for 7 hours, considering a range of verdicts from first-degree murder, second-degree murder, voluntary manslaughter, involuntary manslaughter, or not guilty.
I was shooting for involuntary manslaughter.
Okay, everyone may be seated. Members of the jury, were you able to reach a verdict? Okay, please hand that to the marshal there. Okay, Mr. Elledge, would you please stand to receive the verdict? Verdict. We, the jury, find the defendant, Joseph Dwayne Elledge, guilty of murder in the second degree.
Well, they obviously acquitted him of murder in the first degree. They didn't fully buy the accident, but they didn't buy that it was murder in the first degree.
I think that was hard for Mengqi's parents to process because he did it. And I think in their mind, justice would have been first-degree murder. On the other hand, the primary concern has always been, how can we make sure that Joe is locked up and never has the chance to raise his daughter, Anna?
Mengqi's parents could not be at the sentencing, but one of her friends, Louise Hall, spoke of her pain and anger.
I still can hear her laughing, her voice, her lovely face, I still can see that. So this is really painful to me. He want us to, he kind of play with us. He told us Mengqi was gone because she was a bad mother. She left her baby away. He wanted us to think Mengqi is a bad person. So this really hurt us a lot. And especially what he did to Mengqi.
Elledge did not speak, nor did anyone else on his behalf.
I am going to sentence you to 28 years in the Department of Corrections. The jury recommended 28 years. At this point, that's the maximum that I can do, and I do think that's appropriate in this case.
It was pretty obvious to me that they settled on 28 because that was how old Mengqi was when she died.
He's going to have to serve 28 years in the penitentiary, so we came a lot closer to getting the result we wanted, the state did, than the defense came to getting the result they wanted in this case.
Elledge later pleaded guilty to 3 counts of child abuse. Left undecided was who will raise the couple's daughter Anna, and where, Missouri or China.
It's an international child custody dispute. My biggest concern is that Anna will grow up and she will believe this false narrative about it being an accident, or that she will believe that it was her mother's fault that she was killed.
Mengqi's not here and Joe is in prison, right? I'm sorry. How is she gonna face things up when she grows up? Like, knowing that her mom's dead and her dad is the killer.